Greetings, folks. The country is in a right mess. Monday's front pages show a government stumbling from one crisis to another while the elites thrive and ordinary people are left to suffer. The Irish Times reveals that billionaire JP McManus is seeking another €30 million in taxpayers' money, if you don't mind, to stage the Ryder Cup at Adair Manor in 2027. Public funds handed over to a billionaire while families can't even afford rent or groceries. The Irish Examiner reports on the three-pillar banks that are rushing out now to launch a new instant payment services in rival to Revolut. A reminder that when profits are on the line, big institutions move at lightning speed, unlike government delivery on housing and on healthcare. The Irish Independent uncovers huge pay and pension hikes for hospital consultants, while patients remain stuck on trolleys and waiting lists spiral out of control. The Daily Mail warns that housing targets will be missed for years to come, proof that housing crisis is being cemented, not solved. And the Irish Daily Mirror, folks, and the Herald highlights the third threat to Simon Harris's home and family in 2 weeks, showing the breakdown of public trust, stability and order. Look, folks, it all adds up to a government, a cobbled together Irish government with no grip on the country's direction. On this evidence alone, I believe a snap general election looks increasingly on the cards. Folks, I was given a loan of Leo's new book, and when I closed the last page, I was left with a hollow feeling. Not because of the words written, but because of the ones missing. The truth was nowhere to be found. No chapter on the CIA, no chapter on the scandals whispered about in the shadows, no chapter on the boys, the underage victims, whose pain is airbrushed out of the story. It breaks my heart, folks, to see yet another book that polishes the surface but buries the darkness. Because behind the staged smiles and headlines, there are shattered lives, folks, that never make it onto the page. I can only hope that there's a sequel to Leo's book, one that has the courage to tell the truth, the whole truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Until then, it feels like silence screaming louder than any words ever could. On the school run this morning, I passed farmer after farmer, hauling cow boxes packed to the brim with the finest Kerry cattle on their way to Castleisland Mart. You could see the pride in the stock, generations of breeding, care and sacrifice. And yes, cattle are making huge prices there right now. But as I watched them drive by, I thought to myself, this is short-lived. Because while Irish farmers are told to borrow, to invest, and while grants are thrown around at them like confetti, behind closed doors, the rug is being pulled from under them. Companies like Dawn Meats are buying up land in New Zealand farms, shipping beef halfway around the world, only to package it here and sell it as European beef. All the while, Brussels keep piling on the red tape and the bullshit and globalist nonsense designed to wipe out the very heart of rural Ireland, the family farm. Traditionally, Irish farms backed Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. But I ask, what has the loyalty delivered except betrayal? Look around, farmers. The price boom in Castleisland Mart last week, yes, it brought a smile to faces. But for how long, folks? When will the farmers wake up and see that these clowns in government, dancing to the tune of the EU globalist elites, are destroying Irish farming before our very eyes? And where, folks, are the IFA and all the so-called farming organisations in all of this? Who are they really fighting for? Because it's certainly not the ordinary farmer battling to keep a roof over his family, a child in college, or a tradition alive on the land. It's time to call it out. It's time now, folks. Day 11 of the national health emergency crisis. We know now that 2 people have tragically lost their lives to Listeria poisoning, a man and most recently a woman in her 70s who died, I believe, in University Hospital Kerry last Thursday. First and foremost, our deepest condolences go out to the families who are grieving the heartbreaking loss of their loved ones. No words can ease their pain, and no family should ever have to suffer in this way. And yet, folks, silence from the Food Safety Authorities of Ireland, the HSE, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Health, Ballymaguire Foods, and the food supply chains, even from Mayfair equity partners who bought Pat the Baker and Irish Pride. The silence, folks, is deafening, and it is beginning to speak volumes. To me, it looks like a massive cover-up, while not a single politician has come forward to speak on behalf of the people. I was the first to highlight the story of whistleblower Dennis O'Callaghan from Charleville, County Cork, a man who raised the alarm over food recalls and waste management practices more than 10 years ago, only to be silenced by a High Court injunction from Pat the Baker. The authorities, I believe, investigated it, and they did nothing, absolutely nothing. I have now spoken directly with Dennis O'Callaghan, the whistleblower, and Dennis O'Callaghan has confirmed to me that he will go live with me on the TikTok channel for an interview. Out of respect, though, Dennis is very mindful that two families are now grieving their loved ones and that he does not want to add to their suffering at the moment. But he has given me a guarantee that when the time is right, he will speak to me. And when he does, folks, the truth will be laid bare. The grieving families will come to realise that these deaths of their loved ones may have been preventable. For their loved ones' lives could have been saved, but the state and the corporations involved listened to Dennis O'Callaghan's story and did nothing about it. In fact, did the opposite, gagged him and silenced the man. There is no longer justice about this. When one whistleblower can come forward and advise the government and state authorities 10 years ago and he's not listened to, this is a system that chose to cover up the truth instead of protecting their very own people. If you or a loved one has been affected by the Listeria or food poisoning outbreak, please contact me at info@michellekeane.ie because the truth will come out. Day 22 live from Pepper Advantage headquarters in Shannon. Once again, we see Castleisland native James Glazier has been left with no alternative but to take to the picket line outside Pepper Advantage headquarters. This time, James has made it clear that under no circumstances will he end the strike until a fair and reasonable solution is put in writing by Pepper Advantage. No more empty promises, no more stalling. Portfolio managers like Patrick Dwyer have the power to end this injustice, yet they have stood back while James and his family have been dragged to the brink. This, folks, is no longer a dispute. It has become the biggest shit show of a scandal in town, with all the makings of a great Netflix blockbuster. And yet, not a single one of the 174 TDs in the All-Ireland or our so-called public representatives, selected, not elected, mere puppets, has not had the courage to stand up publicly to support James. They think it's acceptable for vulture funds to sweep into Ireland and throw families like James out on the side of the road, homeless. Well, it's not acceptable, folks. It never was. I am pleading now directly with Andrew Corrie, Pepper Advantage's head man in Sydney's headquarters, to step in, take responsibility and resolve this mess. The world is watching. Every day that passes is a stain on your reputation. James is standing his ground, and he is not standing alone. Gura Míle Maith Agaibh.